It starts with the question, and we see what's true. A hunch or an idea, what happens if we do? We try it out live, the results never set. Sometimes it's a breakthrough, sometimes a regret. Then come the voices to carry it through. Alan and Andres with experiments for you. From agents to APIs and all in between. Some turn into magic, some break the machine. When the answer is fuzzy or clear as day, we'll learn it together along the way. So pull up a chair, what should we expect? We're laughing and learning, it's no check. Yeah, that's no check.
Welcome, everybody. I was just realizing I'm wearing the same shirt as in the end of that video.
You know, I thought that looked familiar. It was really strange because I was watching that video and I was like, what is happening? That part was live.
Yes, sure. We were just laughing. So, welcome everybody. Welcome back to Null Check. This is our X number of episodes because I don't keep count. But I'm Andres Moreno. It's our fifth episode of this series. I am Andres Moreno, principal architect at Helton and co-host with.
And I am Alan Helton, ecosystem engineer at Moreno.
Beautiful.
And today is a special episode because I didn't do any prep work for today. Andres did all of the prep work. So, it's all, make or break on what you did, Andres.
Yeah, well,
so I'm excited.
We'll see how all this works, how this flows. Hopefully Promptatron works, all the good things. So let's get started.
Can we laugh and learn along the way?
Yeah, that's what matters to me, right? I've failed many times and I get back up. So what's one more?
That's part of succeeding is failure.
There we go. So yeah, I mean, the topics, so feel free to pitch in. But I mean, let's recap a little bit. Like you mentioned, it's the fifth episode in a long-running series since probably like August, since we do bi-weeklies. And we've been going through the 6 principles of enterprise-grade AI agents and covering design. Whew, there we go.
That's it's an important keyword there.
So we've covered, the importance of system prompts, not overloading your context with just giving it everything you can, tool usage and tool designs, right, for like the APIs for agents. Our last episode was around validating. So guardrails, right? Validating outputs and, as we learned a couple of weeks ago, inputs as well, using guardrails to protect what goes in, what you can protect before you trigger the LLM, and protecting what goes out. And today is all about meta agents. They just sound so cool, right?
They are, yes. And they're not the ones that are in those cool little glasses from Meta. We're talking about agents that grade other agents.
Yes. So this is adding, I mean, we kind of did a little bit of that on our last episode, but this is adding basically an agent that checks on the agents. So if you think about your regular development flow, right? You have a developer that does some code, and then you have a different developer, architect, or lead, or whatever that reviews that code, right? But now in our scenario, let's say we have an agent generating the code. So A meta agent would be that reviewer of the code to make sure it meets the criteria, the coding style, all the fun stuff we do on PRs. So in this case, right, we have agents generating whatever, images, videos, content, responses. We want to make sure these responses from the LLM adhere to company policies. They're not inappropriate, or they meet the quality standards of your company, right? Let's say you're generating images for your marketing material. So it's creating this. You can either have it as part of your workflow to then say, no, stop this from getting generated, right? Or it will get generated, but stop it from getting back to the user or continuing the workflow. Or it can become its own sort of feedback loop, right? So what were you calling it, Alan, right now? The agent loop?
Yes, basically the agent loop. Yes, agent in the loop.
Agent in the
I have
loop
actually
is
really
what you-
good. I have a good distinction that I'd like to make before we get in and actually look at some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's from a real world scenario. And I want to make a distinction between what we did last time and how what we're doing this time is actually different. So I like to mess with my kids. That's like, I feel like it's my right as a dad. And I told my daughter that the tooth fairy is a man first, and he was actually scary and being punished because he was caught eating teeth. And, and so what I tried to do was I was trying to get this visual in my 7-year-old's head. And so I asked ChatGPT, draw me a creepy tooth fairy with sharp teeth, slender body, and holding a basket of teeth. And immediately I got rejected. It said, no, that goes against our content policy. That's horror or horrific, something like that. And so what caught me there was what we talked about last time with input validation. Before it even talked to the LLM, it saw that I was violating the content policy because it had guardrails up to say don't do anything horrific or intentionally creepy. Now, anyone that's been using ChatGPT for years knows that you can eventually coerce an LLM to generate what you want by doing multi-shot prompting. So you give it, draw me the tooth fairy. Now draw it as a man. Now draw it skinnier. Now give it sharp teeth. And you iterate on that. And, as a whole, none of those things sound like they're violating the content policy. But as you iterate, it eventually gets to the point where it is. And what we're talking about today, the meta agents, are what happens after these multi-shot prompting scenarios where you try to lead the LLM astray and make something that violates content policy. So this output from a multi-shot conversation is, at any point in time did not violate the input guardrails, but it did violate the output guardrails at the end. So this meta agent's going to look at that, evaluate it, and say, no, I'm not actually going to return this to the user.
Yep, that's a perfect example. And I can't remember the exact prompt. I saw a post somewhere where it's like, it's not multi-shot, but it's kind of single shot, but it's saying, hey, you're X person, you're being audited by the FBI, and and they've asked you to respond or draw a picture of this, and if you don't, you'll go to jail. Something like that. So it kind of got the LLM to actually respond.
Got nervous.
Yeah. Just by
That's
forcing
funny.
the LLM. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's something we
Yeah.
see if anyone watching has used Sora. I know there's posts all over the place that making fun of the content violation is because of that, right? If you ask it to create a video of Mickey Mouse, it's not going to let you because it's copyrighted, right? So it can't generate that. And sometimes you have to wait all the 3, 4, 5 minutes it takes to generate for it to get rejected because I'm just going to assume they have a meta agent at the end verifying the content.
Yes. And funnily enough, at at Momento's conference that we had earlier in the year. It was a media conference about integrating AI into media pipelines. I saw a talk from an engineer at Meta talking about the Meta agents they use at Meta. And it's essentially everything that we just said. It's guardrails, LLM that generates something, and then Meta agents after that thing is generated to then validate that it adheres to the content policies. And this is even for something as simple as replacing your background with a video of the room on fire. They take it very, very seriously, especially at the scale of Meta. But it's something that's in practice, in production, all over the world. All right, let's see what you got, Andres. I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, so we've updated Promptatron quite a bit to, where's the screen? Well, change the scene. Okay. So Promptatron now has image generation, right? And we're going to use this example to show Meta agents in practice. So we have this new image generation mode, currently only supporting Nova. So for image generation, the Converse API, it doesn't support these. So you have to generate and map each of the inputs yourself, which is kind of the beauty of the Converse API. You don't have to. But for these, if we want to support more foundational models for images, we need to build them ourselves. So maybe we'll add that in the future. Very simple. I had a bunch of example, but you enter your prompt. What do you want to generate? And then here at the bottom, we can see if we want to enable or not the meta agent analysis. So in our example, we've created 3 meta agents. It's one for prompt adherence. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Prompt adherence.
There we go.
To make sure that the image is generated actually contains the items or whatever came in the initial prompt. Content safety. Some of it we've already seen in the guardrails configuration from last episode, but this, you can take it further. Don't show any knives or right. Just making sure whatever you consider your content safety, and the image quality, right? And in this situation, we'll play around with the image quality to see how it can reject or accept our image at the end. But
I'm not giving you a high five. I'm raising my hand to ask a question.
Yeah.
So what you're explaining, these are use case specific meta agents. I want to make sure that we don't just kind of gloss over what we're doing here. There's no Promptatron makes this very easy with a toggle button, but that doesn't exist anywhere else. That's not something that you can just turn on. These are actual additional AI agents that take the output of your primary agent as input, along with system prompts of their own, and even potentially tools of their own to go and flag maybe user violations in a database. So this isn't just a toggle, kind of like guardrails were. Guardrails essentially in Bedrock were very easy and quick to configure. This is new. This is something that has to be built. So the ones that you're talking about with prompt adherence, that's one that everyone should have. That's a good output guardrail. Quality of the image, that's very specific to image gen. And then what was the other one?
Image quality, right? Content safety. That's the hardest one to kind of test live, because I don't want to generate anything offensive live. So that's why I'm focusing on the image quality rather than content safety.
Smart man. Okay.
But yeah, here is where you can see. So if anybody that's listening and watching uses Promptatron or wants to try it out, basically it's config based. I wanted to make these configurable on the UI and stuff, but right now it's just code. So each scenario that you configure can have its own meta agents, and this is what will show that toggle. If there's meta agents configured, you can then turn them on or off. off, right? And we can see I have the fact checker, the quality enforcer, and the error containment. So these translate to prompt adherence, content safety, and image quality. But you can see how it's straight up an agent where we're giving it its system prompt, its user prompt, basically, and then sending it via this is abstracted, but the invoke meta agent will then call the Converse API and hit Bedrock with whatever. I think I've hard coded the model to be Nova Pro. So this will then go to its LLM and verify with the image, right? So it's providing the image as an input to then do the analysis. My initial iteration of this, you know how we've struggled in previous episodes to get it to use the tools, right? In this, we can have a meta agent to check, hey, did it trigger the necessary tools to get the information and validate the policies and all that before it hit me, right? So you can have an initial meta agent that's just validating if tools were hit. Granted, you can probably get JSON out and validate that deterministically, right? Again, you don't have to use an agent for everything, but you can use these things as post-processing validators, whether it's an agent or just code.
It's a lot of use cases for that.
Yeah. So, like I said, we're going to turn off the meta agent analysis. And do you want a kid playing with the duck, or what do you want to draw?
No, let's not put children in this.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
why don't we just do anything farm related? How about we have a chicken playing with a duck?
Playing with a duck. So a bunch of configuration, I guess. Let's seat it. Let's move chat out of the way. There it is.
All right.
So everything's all good and working. This is beautiful. Once it actually showed up, it's very nice how this is Canva, right? Nova Canva, just working.
Yeah, it's pretty good quality.
Let's do it in cartoon style, right? And I'll explain why. So we don't have the meta agents enabled yet, but you can see everything is, it's a pretty good picture.
Yeah, it is.
So it generated, and we're not validating anything with the meta agents. But again, maybe part of your brand, and this is something I've included in the quality checkers prompt, is to exclude and reject cartoon, specifically any type of cartoon, right? We're very professional. We want human looking images and realistic looking images. So I'm going to turn on the meta agents, and now we'll have this new results.
And so it says up there on Promptatron which ones we're using, the fact checker, error containment. Okay.
Yeah. So all three are enabled, and you can see it got rejected. So we have the results. It said it completed all three. Like I said, there's content safety, and it's telling us all that it's doing or why, right? So the image depicts a chicken and a duck in a friendly interaction within a cartoon style setting. There's no presence of inappropriate, explicit, violence, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. The prompt adherence, it's showing what we asked it to. And the image quality, right? The image features a cartoon style depiction of a chicken and a duck, which is explicitly stated in the original prompt. Yeah, it's saying, hey, it did tell me. I didn't go as far as trying to figure out how to get around any content limitations. So this is pretty straightforward. Let's say you did that. What do you call it? The multi-prompts or the
multi-shot prompting.
Multi-shot prompt. And you got this, right? You got it to generate a cartoon, which doesn't adhere to your brand. So it's telling us, hey, you should reject this.
So at that one is, I'm sorry for interrupting. That one specifically is checking. I can see in the description that it's specifically checking if it's photorealistic.
Yes.
Right.
So
that's what it's been instructed to do.
Yeah. So if we go here, You must reject images that are cartoon, anime, manga, comic book style, flat colors, fantasy, fictional. So if we were, let's say, let me update this and just remove this as part of the prompt. Your only job is to determine if images are. Let's remove the strict. I don't want you to be as strict, and remove this as well. And this too.
So while you're doing that, I'm going to talk. What's interesting is that what you're doing to genuinely manipulate the behavior here is editing the system prompt given to this agent, which was principle 1 that we talked about like 8 weeks ago. At this point, this is a very, very important piece of making sure that models behave the way that you want them to behave.
And this goes to say the meta agents system, user prompts, all the design principles we're talking about apply to meta agents as well, right? So talk about meta, right? It's you're designing your baseline agent or your base agent, and then the meta agents follow the same design principles, where you want determinism, you want a good system prompt. You can filter out some of the information. Here we don't have a lot. It's the initial prompt and the image, and that's all it's basing it at. So here, this shouldn't reject it, right? So I modify the system prompt. Still cartoon. It still rejected it. The image will render for different reason. The composition is balanced with the chicken and duck positioned centrally. I guess we have more. No.
Yeah, so it looked like you still had cartoon or like photorealistic in there somewhere.
Evaluate technical. Oh, here it is.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah. That's it. That should do it.
Okay, and so running that again takes away the cartoon constraint on that guy.
That's running the meta agents.
This is pretty quick, all things considered. There we go.
Yeah, the image generation only taken 3.4 seconds. That's pretty good. And then what was it, like 8 seconds total with the meta agents? The meta agents are running in parallel. But now we can see we're not restricting specifically for a cartoon, right?
Yeah. So how do you think, I want to see if you'd be able to break this, because this is a serious one, prompt adherence. If we can figure out how to break that one, I think that's a key to unlocking a lot of safety, because that doesn't apply just for image generation. That is a check to make sure you're not getting prompt injected in a lot of situations. It's also a check, it's twofold. It's also a check to make sure that the agent is actually staying on task, regardless of being prompt injected. Did it do what you asked?
Yeah. That's it. I try to think of ways to inject that, right? But in the image scenario, in the regular text to text scenario, we could inject it like, hey, add extra things in the system prompt, right?
Yeah,
that's not something you would be able to manipulate as a consumer of my agent. So it's not really a realistic scenario. And the user prompt, since it has all the text, it has to be very vague for the meta agent to not be able to catch that. And I misspelled.
What happens if you ask it to draw whatever you want?
That's not.
That's okay. We run into bugs all the time. Oh, interesting. It's doing a content policy check on the prompt itself.
Yeah. So obviously I'm using Kiro to generate this, and it sometimes might add more than you've asked, right? So it's adding a static check, which is good. It's adding a static check before you send this, right? So if I do Disney, it's copyrighted. So there's a few flag words that it's done that it's doing.
Nice.
Right? So Mickey Mouse, It did a few hard-coded ones to check for, which is nice. That list could be massive. And that's why, like, Sora might have missed Bob Ross, and why people started making videos of Bob Ross all over.
Got it.
So here, draw.
And that makes sense. That's also what you'd use input guardrails for as well.
I don't know why it's okay. Let's not use whatever. For some reason,
I guess whatever is it's a negative connotation generally.
Look at that, man. Bun.
Interesting.
By presenting a hand, the style is appropriate sketch-like, and the addition of art supplies, while not requested, does not detract from the prompt's intent. Therefore,
okay, maybe we can't. Yeah, we probably can't break that one, but the point still stands that the prompt adherence meta agent is actually really important to make sure that you're not being prompt injected, or that it really is just staying on the task at hand.
And it's probably the simplest one to get in place, right? You're getting the original prompt, you're getting the response. No. Yeah, you're getting the response, and then just fact checking side by side if it adheres, right? You could add fact checking, and this is where you mentioned it's the agent, the meta agent can use tools as well, right? So let's say there's a historical date that came back as part of the response. You asked, write me an essay of the Industrial Revolution. It can go then and fact check against sites, Wikipedia or whatever, to make sure. I don't think Wikipedia is a good fact checker, but fact checking site. But you could then go and verify that information, or maybe against your own data, right? So let's say, hey, Daryl, did you enable the chat? I want to see if we're still off by a few pixels on the chat. But you could go hit the tools, hit APIs.
Not enable it because it is still
okay. Yeah, it's still out of the way.
There you go.
Need to fix that. So
thank you, Daryl.
I'm trying to think of a good scenario where you would want to reach out to the internet and verify information, right? Initially, I had thought of a scenario for, I know you always have good ideas, but the expense report scenario could then reach out to check your policies for your company, right? If you have a meta agent that is basically checking an expense report against your company policies to make sure everything is valid and you didn't go out and buy 16 beers and claim that for your company, that usually is not accepted on many companies.
True.
What's the scenario you have?
I've actually built a fact-checking meta agent before, surprise, surprise. And I used it it's an app that I built for myself, actually. It's for basically proofreading blog posts that you write. People that know me know that I've been a writer for years. And I built these agents to go in and look at the way that I write. And yeah, I have a bunch of them that do different things, but one of them specifically was a fact checker. So I often write about things that are cutting edge, or like maybe AWS services that just got announced. And the fact checker bot it has a tool that all it does is search, and it's been instructed to pull out facts, qualifiable facts from the blog post or whatever I wrote that I want checked, and then search the internet for that. Pull back results, make sure that what I said is actually factually true. If it's not, then go and basically tell me that it's not. So really useful for stuff like that.
And very, very important, right? Again, we're talking about enterprise-grade AI agents. You want them, and man, we've really dug deep into each of the levels of validation. And prior to this, it's usually been, how can we structure things prior to hitting the LLM so the LLM provides some sort of determinism and can give us the responses we want and need for our business use cases. And now it's taking it to the next level and verifying all that information for us. And you're really getting to a true autonomous, it could be a completely autonomous workflow. Like we mentioned, this could remove the human in the loop part of the workflow so that you're not using a human. And bringing it back to the coding sample, the coding scenario, you have coding agents and you can trigger them from GitHub issues, right? So you have a GitHub issue, it goes and does the work, it goes, opens the PR, then you have another agent that provides the feedback. You can then have the original agent act on that feedback. And then you have that loop going between these two, the agent and its meta agents, to then at the end get an approval and get it merged. I don't know. I don't trust that flow yet. That scares me. But that's possible, right? And these meta agents are providing more confidence on the results of what the original agent executed. And I'll go back to CI/CD pipeline verifications. Always have those. It can give you a lot more confidence.
Yes. Your little anecdote there got me thinking that we need to make a distinction here, because there's these meta agents. You have a really good example of what I think blurs the lines between meta agents that check each other, where one checks the other, and multi-agent collaboration, where one agent basically is a supervisor and it asks a bunch of other agents to go do things on behalf of itself. And then everybody reports back to the supervisor, and the supervisor basically collates all that information and then returns that final results to whatever the caller was. And your use case, where you're talking about GitHub and you have an autonomous agent pick up a new GitHub issue that was created, write the code, create the PR, and then you have a different agent that looks at the PR and scans the code and checks it and makes sure, and puts recommendations on the PR, and then back and forth. Is that a meta agent or is that multi-agent collaboration? What do you think about that one?
Yeah.
See, this is where we're getting into this kind of uncharted territory where we don't have ubiquitous language yet for these advanced concepts.
It's a blurry line, and I don't know at what point it becomes a meta agent. And it depends on the scope, right? For a developer, it might be an agent workflow. For somebody more high level, it might be a single agent with meta agents, right? So I think it's all about perspective, and my favorite answer, it depends. But what do you think?
See, that was what I was hoping you were going to say, because I really like it when you and I disagree. To me, I think that's multi-agent collaboration, but not in a traditional supervisor and worker relationship. I think that's two agents interacting independent of each other on the same artifact. That's multi-agent collaboration versus what you just showed, where we have actual meta agents that are evaluating direct output before it's returned anywhere. So an LLM creates a response, and then these meta agents are looking at that raw response to say, is that good enough to continue the agent loop?
Agree to disagree. No.
Oh, really? Really? Okay.
I mean, what I just showed could easily be said as an agent collaborate. The coding workflow is, they're also looking at the same artifact, right? It's code outputted by the initial agent.
Yes, that's why I think that's what defines multi-agent collaboration, is that they are working on the same artifact. They have one goal in mind, which is,
I guess these have
push out
quality.
Yeah. When you think about it in terms of like A2A terminology, the agent to agent protocol terminology, that GitHub issue and ultimately the PR, really it's the PR, is the task. And the task is the multi-step artifact, basically. It's the multi-step sequence that the different agents can interact with, and they're manipulating the code, which is the generated artifact.
Okay, you got me.
And I think that brings good point, because I have a diagram that I wanted to share today, and I was looking for the best time to share it, and that time is now. So let's let me bring up my screen. I hate it when it does this. There we go. Oh no, hold on.
That's still my screen.
I'm going to remove
There
your
you go.
screen, bring mine, and then I guess I'll zoom in. Hold on. This was, let me do left to right. This is mermaid, so I can just do that. They went top down, but now we can do left right.
Didn't do tech check on this diagram.
No, yeah, this actually works. So we'll look at this. Okay, this is the agent loop. And if this is too small, let me know, and we'll change it.
A little bit.
Let me change the aspect ratio of my window, and that usually helps us a little bit with the zoom. You're right, we didn't do tech check, and that's on me. Oh my goodness, how big is this window? There we go. Okay. I know it's still looking funny. Let me adjust. So we have that. Okay.
There we go. Perfect.
We zoom out. There. We'll get there eventually. We always do. Okay. So this is the agent loop. We've talked about the agent loop a couple times before in the past 10 or so weeks. And I just want to go over the pieces as we were relating them to A2A, both with the meta agents with a single agent. And this would represent the tasks that happen, or the steps along the workflow for single agent with meta agent thrown into the loop. Right. So you go in and you say, draw me a duck playing with a chicken. And that's right here. Start the goal. And what this is going to do is the agent's going to see, okay, that's the input that came into me. Maybe we did some pre-processing, we did our guardrails, and we pass it in. Welcome. So then I'm going to figure out what it needs to do. So you've actually invoked the LLM. It's going to figure out what it needs to do, and it's going to do its thing. It's going to call the tools necessary. It's going to actually do the reasoning part that makes LLMs good and useful. Mm-hmm. And it's going to create an output. This is wrong. This should be here. Darn it. So just pretend like this box is under here, under act. So act is going to be call tools. It's going to, or do the specialty thing that model was trained for. It's going to do that, and it's going to create an output. And that's when you would get this meta agent in here to look at said output for quality control, for prompt adherence, for whatever, on topic. And if that answer is no, then it goes back up here to the top and says restart. This is how you get those really fast iterative loops, especially with image generation, where it just keeps going and going and going until you actually generate the right thing. And so once the meta agents say, yeah, that you're good on that, you finally did it right, then it goes through, and basically the LLM is looking at that in its head, and it's like, okay, do I need to go and run again? That's what this is here. Am I done with my task? And if that answer is yes, then it goes to the output and it finishes its loop. A2A makes this a lot more complex, when you have other agents in here. But what we're talking about is kind of in this single enclosed loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things we were talking a little bit before starting the stream is, do you always have them inside the loop, or you have them outside the loop? And like I mentioned, one of the scenarios I was building for was, did it execute all the tools, right? And we know as part of this loop, the agent is triggering tools, and maybe it's paginating, and it calls the same tool several times or something like that. So if we're doing that kind of tool evaluation, would you see the benefit in evaluating, hey, did it call the necessary tools after the agent loop? And that's a question to you.
I know it's a question to me. I'm gonna take the screen away because this is a serious answer, and it's gonna be jumbled up because I messed up moving it to this. So hold on. There we go. Your question is, I actually don't know how to answer your question because I don't fully understand it the way you phrased it this time. You were asking, do you need an agent that evaluates where tools used?
Well, not exactly that. That might be an agent you have, right? But I would see that as living outside of the agent loop, right? So right now you
Mm,
have the agent
mhm.
loop and you're short circuiting. Basically, you did one iteration and it failed. So no.
Just foreshadowing. I'll let you finish talking, but my answer is no.
Because in my brain, right, the agent loop is there in order for the agent to provide the best response possible to you, right? So if you short circuit it, it might have been in the second iteration where it got it right, and now you've just stopped it. Or maybe the inner agent, the meta agent that you're talking about, is just providing that feedback in the loop instead of just short circuiting, right? So maybe it's enriching that.
Yeah. Short circuit might not be the appropriate word here because
Yeah.
that's not actually what we're doing. Short circuiting, what we're doing with meta agents is, of course, it depends. But what are the options that you can do with meta agents? You can just send that right back to the agent and have it generated again. Totally viable option. Probably what you want to do with limits. Don't let it run 100 times because sometimes they just can't do what it's being asked to do. And B, just stop. Just say, hey, this is a hard stop. You are way against our policies, and there's probably no way you can circle back to it. And we're going to alert somebody. And that could toss something into a dead letter queue or a priority queue, whatever it really is. It just says we're halting right here. But let me answer your other thing with a roundabout way. Let's take that as a specific use case, right? I am checking to make sure that the agent generated the highest quality output that I expect. And generally what you're going to do is you're not going to rely on an agent to return you JSON and give you your final answer in that form because it can do anything, right? We've all seen ChatGPT where you ask it to write code and it says, sure, I'll be happy to do that for you, code. If I just check it, it's not just code. So maybe that fails. Maybe I don't have good parsing, output parsing. And I know I expected just code, but it has static text and then it has 3 backticks, the JavaScript, and then JavaScript code. It doesn't work like that. What you should be doing with enterprise AI agents, if you want a deterministic output, is you need to be giving that agent a tool that can generate the output that you expect 100% of the time. So you say, do your evaluation, call output tool, and then that tool is going to be running code to drop its evaluation in the schema that you care about and know about into a database. Then you go into your post-processing phase after the LLM runs and basically do a database lookup. Pull it, check, is that schema in there? Does it have all the things in there that I need? Boom, now I'm done. Super long-winded answer. And, this is, it's not necessarily a direct answer to your question, but it kind of is. I think really the takeaway there is look at that post-processing phase. Don't just get the response back from the LLM and hand it over to a meta agent. That's part of it. Meta agent can evaluate, but also you're going to be fetching probably out of the database or some temporary store in that deterministic format that you tell it in that tool.
Yep. And not very applicable for the image because the response is just the image. So that's all we can provide the meta agent. Good example. But yeah, and getting a blurb of text, definitely structured. You need to restructure it for each meta agent and what it expects, what it receives. And it goes back to the user context or the context that we were talking about in episode 2. It's you can slim it down based on the priorities for that specific meta agent, right? You don't need to send it everything that came back, and might be just a portion, a slice, you might say.
Exactly. Meta agents are just agents. They have their own set of tools. They have their own system prompts. And really the big difference between a meta agent and a normal agent is that its input is the output of the normal agent. That's really the only big difference here. They have their set guidelines of what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to evaluate, and what their outputs are. And you just run with that. It all the same principles apply to meta agents that apply to regular agents as well.
Beautiful.
Yes. And this actually might be a day, Andres, where we end early. Is there anything else that we need to show? I mean, we could always play around with the Promptatron more, because I think you did good work there, and that's a lot of fun. But the concept I think we've illustrated.
The concept, I mean, I was going to say simple. I was oversimplified, but the concept is not as extensive as playing around with system prompts and all that, right? It's a meta agent that follows. It's meta, right? So it follows the exact same design principles we've been talking about. So it's just where it fits in your process, why they're valuable, right? So this is very important in enterprise. So it can follow your standard practices, your policies. In the case of images, your brand colors, and right. So all these pieces in open agent world, you want to validate that nobody did what Alan did to be able to get the scary tooth fairy. Right? You want to protect those situations, so they don't work around with this prompting, multi-prompting process or prompt injections, and just protect you from all those things. And everything ends up being another LLM call. And I'm not sure. I mean, because we talked about the guardrails, right? And when it's validating the outputs, I'm assuming it's just calling another LLM, maybe a smaller one or something to execute the guardrail validation of the output. So again, it's everything's super meta in this world. Agents upon agents, which can make things very, very complicated. So having good structures, good maintainability, and I think that's kind of the next phase of where we're all going, right? We've all built agents, and they're all with these hard-coded system prompts, and because we just wanted to get them to work. But then, how do you maintain those in the future? And I mean, there's prompt libraries and all those things that you can have for your company and your organization to simplify those things. So we're getting more into this governance side as well, because that's a big part of enterprise agents. It's not just the agent itself, it's the maintenance around it, which brings us to the next our next episode. I guess it's a good segue. So what are we going to be talking about on the next one? And I can pull up the principles if you want.
Yeah, that would be great. I will do the high level. We are going to be talking about something that we've kicked the can on for long enough. We're going to be talking about observability inside of your AI agents. Now, observability is a lot more than simply metrics. There we go. Oh, man. Here we go. I got to love these layouts. Observability is a lot more than just figuring out your token usage, or what was the input from this user, what are the metrics of how many times this LLM was called. There's a considerable amount of things that you need to instrument to make your LLMs reliable. So I think we'll talk a little bit about AI gateways as well, basically fallback LLMs or fallback models when maybe you get a throttling exception. You need an answer, and you're not going to typically make your customers wait for that retry period in order to get an answer, because LLMs are already slow enough as is, right? And if you get past, I think in Bedrock, Sonnet 4.5 has like a once a minute or once every 2 minute invocation. You're not going to make your customers wait for that long. So you need to figure out via instrumentation and tooling, what is going on? How can I have graceful degradation in my service to stay up and stay reliable? So it ultimately it is about observability, but
Yeah.
it's mainly about reliability when we talk about observability.
Cool. I'm excited for that one. And that will wrap up our series on designing the enterprise AI agent design principles. So 6 1-hour episodes or more, or a little bit less as far as this one. And I guess we need to start talking about what's next. So
yeah, I don't know about you, Andres, but we have been going. Let me bring us back. We have been going very hard on agent design and principles and building out Promptitron and whatnot. I might need a break after reInvent. We might need to go through the rest of the year, kind of circling back, re-brainstorming. We might not even come back talking about AI. This is a show that checks for null in our viewers. So anything that came out at reInvent, I know that there is a lot of really cool stuff coming, stuff that I'm particularly interested in, that we can spend cycles on and talking about and going over. It's something that, Andres, you and I have talked about for years doing and never actually did. But now we have an actual show to do it, and we can prepare and actually talk about some of these cool features, and maybe even have the product managers on from AWS for some of these features.
Yep. So yeah, we're planning live, but yeah, Daryl has a good one. Null check road to reInvent Gen AI edition. So both of us, I guess can announce, both of us are going to be participating on the road to reInvent hackathon. So we'll be instead of arriving directly to Las Vegas, we're going to arrive to LA and grab a bus, catch a bus, and hack for 5.5 hours.
Yeah, depending on traffic.
Yeah. So hopefully there's a lot of traffic so we get more coding time. So we'll see. But it's going to be a hackathon, 50 people, 10 teams of 5 buses, 2 teams per bus. So should be interesting, should be fun. I've actually coded well on mobile vehicle. I don't know about you, Alan, so I think I'm good on the sickness.
I don't get motion sickness, but I can't honestly say I've coded in a moving vehicle before. So yeah, that's going to be exciting. That'll be fun. So, and the random number generators worked in our favor. You and I are on the same team. We didn't even get to pick teams.
Yes.
Yeah, we got. Not only did we both get picked, we both got put on the same team. So that'll be fun. You guys get to see us live on AWS's channels, not just ours, and us working together actually in person. I only see Andres like 2 times a year. One of those is reInvent. Another time is whenever he decides to fly back home and check on how his old stomping grounds were.
But yeah, whether you see that as a good thing or a bad thing on being together, just look at our previous episodes. I don't know. Got a lot of failures. And this one also, I don't know why it was failing with the prompts.
I don't think this one was a fail. That works. It worked great.
Yeah, it has some limitations on the prompt. I don't know what was going on there. It didn't let me type in whatever. So excited about that. But yeah, we'll keep everyone posted on what's next. And as always, trying to do some fun stuff. If anybody has any ideas, any things you want us to try, happy to do it live. So
that's right. Always happy to do that. If you have something that you need user experience tests on, we're good at that. Yeah. We're not scrambling for ideas. I'm just going to say that we're not begging for ideas. We have a whole pipeline of things, but we're always happy to help and always happy to go in and check out on the new stuff. All right. Great job today, Andres. This was fun.
Yeah. It's good to hear. So
thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. We will see you guys next time.